very dark. So the line of light is seen very clearly. Very flamboyant bird, golden fronted tanager. It has iridescent feather, and when it flies, you see something sparkling flying by. This looks more like our sparrows, and colorful one at that. This is silver-throated tanagers. This is again a male of the species. Generally, in birds, it is the male which is more beautiful and bigger. Scarlet rumped tanager. This is a male of the species again. Hummingbirds are specialists in hovering. They can hover for a long time. They feed when they are hovering, and they beat their wings 12 to 80 times per second. Smaller the bird, more is the wing beat. They have very iridescent feather. The speciality of these birds is they can fly backwards and they can fly upside down. This is a large, lesser violet ear, and this is a Talamanca hummingbird. Sometimes you see more than one hummingbird at the flower. Again, it's a Talamanca hummingbird. The large owners generally put sugary syrup in this flower, and that attracts these hummingbirds so that we can take photographs. High sync flash is used for photographing these hummingbirds.
Dr. Pradeep Rao says, in the animal world, the male species is always attractive and handsome. In evolution, by the time man got evolved, it changed.
Red-legged honeycreeper. This is the male of the species. The beak is more like a sunbird, and you can see the protruded tongue. I don't know whether it lives on the nectar, but it eats pulpy fruits. This is the male of the species, and this is a female of the species. I took this picture when it was drizzling. Note the red legs. Green honeycreeper. It's a medium-sized bird, and very colorful and iridescent. If these birds are in shadow, we can make a good photo of them. If light falls on that, then all the highlights are burnt. This is a poisonous frog which lives on the forest floor. Generally, they prefer dark or shaded area of the forest. The frogs are very colorful to give a warning signal to the predators. The poison extracted from one frog can kill 10 adult humans. They secrete a toxin called bactrotoxin, which is a neurotoxin. And in earlier days, hunters used to lace their arrows with this poison to kill their prey.
So how many days were you in Costa Rica altogether?
We were there for 10 days. Okay. And we visited 3 types of forests there: lower Atlantic, mid-Atlantic, and the high ranges. the habitat is different and species of bird found are different. This is from Midland. There is a place called Laguna Lagarto, and that lodge has a facility for birding, and also they get these smaller creatures and critters to photograph. Emerald glass frog. I was amazed to learn that there are more than 180 types of glass frogs. It is so named because of the thin, translucent shell, so transparent that even viscera can be seen. This is emerald glass frog and a dorsal view. And this is the ventral view. Picture is not very sharp because the picture is taken through plexiglass. I wanted to show the suction pods which it uses to get a hold on the surface. So even a slimy surface also, it can be comfortably placed. You can see the viscera. Red-eyed tree frog. This is iconic of Costa Rica. It lives near the water body to keep its skin moist. It's a tiny frog, but very cute. Maybe it is about 2 inches. It is not a poisonous frog, totally non-poisonous, with a slimy body. The red eyes are to keep the predators at bay, but it is not poisonous. 2 of them cozying up. Again, note the suction pods. Without this, it cannot perch on these slippery flowers. They live mainly on the insects which are attracted by the flowers.
Is it like the frog of Costa Rica?
Yeah, but this is not the national frog of Costa Rica. But Costa Rica is known for red-eyed tree frogs. The moment you land in Costa Rica, you see various types of picture postcards depicting this frog. Eyelash vipers are very poisonous. The bite can cause coagulopathy and kill the person. I could photograph 2 types of eyelash pit vipers. One is a green eyelash, and the other one is a hog-nosed eyelash pit viper. This is also highly poisonous, and we are not allowed to get near to them. At least 4 feet away. From 4 feet away, we have to take photographs because they can just jump and bite. There are specialist snake handlers who handle these snakes. Now let's move further north to equatorial area, Africa. I have a few pictures from Kenya and Tanzania, and a few from Botswana and South Africa. Both these countries I have visited only once.
Kenya, Tanzania, do you remember how many times you gone?
Kenya probably 7 times, and Tanzania at least 5 times. Thanks to Dr. Barun Sinha, I could go very often. East Africa has large tracts of grassland called savannas, which support the large herbivores population, and that is the main prey base for land-based animals like lions, leopards, cheetahs. Also, Nile crocodiles in the river Nile and Grumeti. These are wildebeest, and they are backlit. So you see all the beards backlit. And there were thousands of them. It looked like a Diya festival during the day. During the month of February, the wildebeest congregate in a place called Tutu Plains of Tanzania. The rains would have just receded and fresh green grass grows. And that's why all these wildebeests come there to deliver so that the young ones can eat the young and tender grass. Couple of interesting things about this wildebeest parturition. Wildebeest is the only animal which can postpone delivering by up to 2 weeks. Suppose there are no rains or some
ಕಾಲುಗಳು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಕರು ಹುಟ್ಟೋದು ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರಾಗ.
Or if the conditions are not conducive, they postpone their parturition. And herd mentality is so strong with these animals. Even if one animal delivers, it induces a mass herd reflex, and in next 24 to 48 hours, all the wildebeest would have delivered. Here, the very sight of a newborn calf has started the parturition reflex, and it is ready for delivery. The moment the calf is born, all the aunts, cousins come over to check on the newborn. You can see still the membranes, and placenta is not yet out. On this trip, my gynecologist wife, Dr. Geeta, was with me, and as a matter of habit, she timed everything. And she told me that it took about 40 to 50 seconds for the newborn to get up, and exactly 150 seconds for the calf to keep pace with the mother, who has to keep pace with the herd. It was amazing to see. Sometimes this is the first instinct, looking for the udder, and placenta is still not out. And many a times, wildebeest has to walk with partially expelled placenta. No maternity leave for them. During the month of July and August, large herds of wildebeest amounting to about 1.5 millions and around 3 lakhs zebras cross over from the southern Serengeti in Tanzania over to Kenya, Masai Mara. During this journey, they have to cross either Mara River or Grometi River to reach Masai Mara. The long rains would have just receded, and lush grass would have grown. And these wildebeests are great lawn mowers. Within a week or two, they would have eaten all the grass. And by November, they are back in Serengeti, Tanzania, in a reverse migration. This is a great annual phenomena, but nobody can time them or forecast when this will happen. I have tried to capture the mood and the scale of the migration in the following pictures. They all congregate on the banks, and they wait for the first wildebeest to jump over. They jump something like 10 feet to 12 feet from the banks. And if one jumps, suddenly all of them want to jump. and there's a great show of dust and in a very frenzied atmosphere. They all jump into the river. Some walk in single files, some walk in rows. You can see the amount of dust kicked up. And many times when they reach the river, they change their mind. Even they can go back, and for no reason. Just because one goes back, the whole herd follows it. Such is the stupid, strong mentality of this wildebeest. This has a nice compositional value. It's called S-curve composition. Not all wildebeests are lucky. Some fall prey to crocodiles. And crocodile feast on these wildebeest, and they next 3-4 months they don't need any feed. Finally, all of them have made it to the other bank. Lions is one of the big fives. Lion along with leopard, Cape buffalo, rhinos. They form big fives. They are prized by the hunters for their trophies. During the mating couple separates from the pride and lives separately. They mate several times a day and for several days. During this time, they don't hunt, they don't feed. And after the mating is over, they rejoin the pride. This is an interesting scene we came upon. This is from Amboseli National Park. As you know, lions and hyenas are arch enemies. Lion can kill a lion can kill a hyena for no reason at all, and just kill that and not eat it. And similarly, hyena, given a chance, an opportunity, will kill a lion cub if it is unguarded, but it eats. During the early hours of morning, this lioness had killed a full-grown warthog, and they had eaten with the cubs, and hardly any meat was left in them. So lions left it and were resting at a place nearby. And then the pride of hyenas came over. They took the carcass and they started dragging. That was the time when our vehicle reached this scene. This is from Amboseli. Seeing the hyenas carrying the carcass, though there was no meat left in that, lioness and cubs came back and great tussle happened. The carcass going towards carcass being taken by hyenas and sometimes pulled back by the lioness. So this went on for nearly 30-40 minutes. And ultimately, it was a determined lioness which took hold of the carcass and took it back. But there was hardly any meat.
Yeah, that was the surprising thing. It was just
not letting go of the...
There's nothing left. It was just the head. There's nothing there. I don't know.
Only you can see the tusks.
Yeah.
Cheetahs are helpless when they are born. Generally, the litter consists of 3 to 5. And sometimes we were lucky to see this litter of 6. Infant mortality in cheetah is very high, and only 1 or 2 of them survive the predation by hyenas and lions. They have a silvery mantle which helps them to camouflage in the grass. but a determined hyena will seek it out and eat it. Cheetahs generally stay with the mother for about 18 months. And when they are ready for separation, they participate in hunting with the mother. This is a very famous cheetah from Masai Mara called Malaika. In Swahili language, Malaika means angel. This is one of the most successful cheetah and raised something like 10 to 12 litters. These are her full-grown cubs, and you can see how intensely it is looking at the mother to learn the technique. Cheetah head is small, jaws are small, so they cannot effectively strangulate a fully grown gazelle. So only with the help of these grown-up cubs or with a coalition, it can bring down a gazelle. This is an impala. And similarly, one more picture. This is a mother and son combo. It is ready for separating. This is a full-grown Grant's gazelle, and it runs very fast and full of stamina. You can see how this cheetah mother has positioned itself, not allowing the Grant's gazelle to run. It is in between the horns and it is strangulating. The cub is holding it tightly so that it cannot move. When the cubs are young, mother catches hold of young gazelle fawns and gives it to the cubs to practice and hone their hunting skills. Skills like chasing, skills like tripping, and this is a beginning of the end. It has tripped the gazelle successfully, and next is bite. African elephants are different from Asiatic elephants. Here, both the sexes have tusks and they have large ears. And also, they are larger compared to the Asian counterpart. When the calves are born, they are helpless and they lean heavily on mother for protection and for suckling. When they are subadults, they keep sparring to build up their stamina and as a part of the exercise. This picture was taken in Tarangire, Tanzania, in the fading light. Chobe River is the best place to get close to the elephant without any danger. During summer, when there is no water in the delta, all these elephants move to the banks of Chobe River. And elephants are excellent swimmers. They come over to small islands where there is a tender grass to feed on. Here we also see hippos submerged in the water. Another picture from Chobe, sunset picture. Elephants love water and they frolic in water. Leopards are very elusive and very little more difficult to see. Only an expert tracker can find the leopards out. They live in rocky outcrops or on the trees. Here this leopard has a cub, and this is where it was rearing it. This is one of my favorite pictures of leopard. Here, you can see the autumn leaves in the background, replicating leopard's own colors. It's a type of camouflage also. And also, it's a vantage point for the leopard to keep an eye on the savanna, what's happening. Leopards spend a lot of time with their cubs playing. When they are not hunting, they are with the cubs. Couple of pictures of leopard with the cubs. This is from the den. This is again from the den, and the leopard has climbed the top to see what is happening in the savanna. It was looking for a prey. This picture is from Lake Nakuru, Kenya. Cape buffaloes are very ill-tempered and very ferocious, very dangerous animal. During the mid-noon, they like to wallow, not only to cool themselves, but also to cover themselves with or cape themselves with mud to keep these pesky flies away. This picture is from Zimanga, South Africa. This is a private game farm. The water body here is artificial, and animals are also artificially lit using the bank of LED lights. This picture was taken at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we were hardly 6 to 7 feet from the buffaloes. We could hear their snorting. We could see their red eyes shining. Photographers are made to sit in a safe environment in an underground bunker-like thing, and our lenses are at the water level. Rhino, this is from Ngorongoro crater. It's an endangered species, black rhino. This is from Botswana. Wild dog lives in pack and hunts in pack. It is beautifully colored and also nicknamed as painted wolf of Africa. This has a large stamina. Eland, this is the largest of the ungulate in the world. It is said that during World War II, Britishers had eland farms for their dairy requirement and also for meat. It is supposed to be very tasty. Africa not only has big fayous, it has beautiful birds also. This is purple grenadier from Masai Mara. Super starling belongs to glossy starling families. There are more than 15 varieties of glossy starlings in its family. This is almost like our sparrows seen everywhere in Kenya and Tanzania. It has very iridescent feathers, and it gives a prismatic effect. And when the light falls on it, it shines. Another species from the same family, glossy starling family, great blue-eared starling. Baglefict beaver. This is the male of the species, more brightly colored. Male builds the nest and invites the female to inspect it. Actually, females are very drab looking. Female weaver bird, I mean. It's drab looking. And if the female approves of the nest, then male gets the mating right. Another species of weaver, red-headed weaver, you can see the nest building in progress. And it has already completed the scaffolding of the nest using the vines. Long-crested eagle, one of the big eagles of Africa. Another eagle from Lake Naivasha. Here it is carrying catfish in its talons. Saddle-billed stork. I don't know for what reason it is endowed with such a colorful saddle-shaped beak. I don't know the purpose behind it. Black-crowned crane. This is the courtship display to attract the attention of the counterpart. Now we move into the northern hemisphere. Iceland, which is cold and windy. Sometimes wind chill factor at night goes down to minus 12 degrees. And wind is very ferocious. We visited the Snaefellsnes Peninsula from Vik to Reykjavik, which is the capital where we land. There are many tourist attractions on this coast, which is in the southwestern part of the Iceland. Iceland is also known as a country of fire and ice because of the active volcanoes and mountain glaciers. This is a very old, small glacier, and the water is dark because of the lava sand. In some glaciers, you can approach the glacier in the ferries, and large and small chunks of ice separated from the glacier is washed ashore. And these chunks of ice shine like diamonds in the early morning hours. These separated ice chunks are washed ashore, and in the morning time they make a good photographic subject. Again, note the black sanded beach, lava sand again. During early morning sunlight, the iceberg shine, and this blue color is the shaded area and the lit area is white. This is another tourist attraction from a place called Vik. Here I used a neutral density filter to smoothen the waves. Kirkufella Falls. This is an iconic mountain called Kirkufell. And again, like red-eyed tree frog, this lot of picture posts are made from this area. In Iceland language, Foss means falls. This is Kirkufella Foss, and this is Kirkufell Mountain. It is so cold, the spray has already formed ice. Another tourist attraction, Arnarstapi. This is early pre-dawn time. Very, very cold and very windy. Natural rock formation by the sea, say at the same place, Arnarstapi. Vesterhavn is next to the sea, and during winter and early summer, most of the sea is frozen. At the onset of summer, I think we went in the month of early September, and the ice had started cracking. Sometime back, there was one very popular tele-serial in America called Viking, and for 3 seasons, it was shot on this location. When the bottom portion of the ice glacier melts, it forms huge natural caves. And they are a great tourist draw. And it's a great photo opportunities for taking selfie and photographs. One has to be a little careful here because it is full small, the ground is full of small pebbles and slippery. And also, without these chain, you cannot walk without falling. Iceland has beautiful churches. This is a black church, and this is a small chapel in a place called Budir. Iceland also has green churches. You can see the grass growing over the roof. Aurora borealis, or also called as northern lights, when the sun rays interact with the light in the upper atmosphere, it creates a photon, which are nothing but light. And with the wind swaying, it forms different patterns and shapes. They are graded 1 to 5 depending on the intensity of the northern light. This is probably grade 4. And also, depending on with which atoms it has interacted, the color also changes. Green is with nitrogen atoms, and pink is oxygen atoms. Similar phenomena in southern atmosphere is called aurora australis. The various shapes and formations. This looks like a twister. This was taken longitudinally because it was a very tall trail-like thing. This is over an iceberg. This is over an glacier. This is from our hotel at Hali. Now, we are coming to the last part of my journey. We are almost in the Arctic Circle. Svalbard means a cold coast. Svalbard is north of Norway. It's an independent country, but administered by Norway. Svalbard is the northernmost human habitation, and it has an airport, port, and the northernmost post office. It even boasts of northernmost sushi, Thai, and Italian cuisine. Here we board our ship for a Svalbard expedition. It's called expedition because there is no set routine. Depending on the weather and the presence of polar bear, captain decides on the route every day. This is the kind of light we see in Arctic. It is a low light, shadowless, and non-contrasting. And it is like that throughout the 24 hours of the day. Miles and miles of white expanse with dotted with floating icebergs. Polar bear has is the largest land-based predator. It has a long neck and a small head. This helps it to swim across the creeks. It feeds on seals, and it raids the nests also. This is how close I was. This is taken from porthole, and it's a full frame a picture. And I was hardly about 20 feet away from the bear. And this is how bear looked at me. Rather than me seeing the bear, it was bear was watching me. This is from 84.1 north, feeding on the seal. This is the trail. It is dragging the trail, it is dragging the carcass away from us, from our ship. And this picture is again from porthole. Arctic has a good bird life also. This is from a bird cliff called Alkefele. Here, during the summer months, black guillemots come in hordes to nest, and space on the ledges is fiercely fought. Here, the chicks are safe from polar bear, but not from the glaucous gull, which raid their unguarded nests. These are glaucous gulls. Arctic terns come all the way from Antarctic. It is said that they travel something like 30,000 kilometers per year to and fro Arctic and Antarctic. The most of the time, this land is under the ice and snow. But come summer, the nature gets a chance to exhibit its vibrant colors. Here the bird is sitting on the nest. During summer, Arctic fox changes the coat. This is the summer coat, and during winter it is white. Bearded seal sitting like a lord over the floating iceberg. And if one is lucky, he can see humpback whale or beluga whale breaching. We were lucky to see one humpback whale breaching. That's my daughter Sudipta, you all know. She was with me during this Arctic expedition. And this is our ship MS Origo. She helped me a lot with my gear and donning and doffing the Arctic suit, which is a very tedious thing. Thank you, Sudipta. And now I end my presentation with point to ponder. This particular island is at least 1,000 kilometers away from the nearest human habitation. The plastic we throw, and plastic thrown from these luxury liners, thrown mindlessly, ultimately find these, they are washed ashore to these pristine places. There is no habitation, but you still see plastic. And bear doesn't know whether it is something to eat. And they say this is one of the reasons why a lot of large fishes die. They get obstructed bowels due to this plastic incarcerated in them. So it's up to we humans to stop this, to make these pristine places again pristine. Thank you for your viewing. Thanks a lot. I can take any questions if you have.
We have, it was exactly one.
Oh. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, PG. This is Ravi.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you.
Can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cherayu.
Hello. Dr. Shanbag, I'm calling from Delhi.
Thank you.
Beautiful presentation.
Thank you, Snehal.
Thanks, Prabhat.
Hi, Ravi.
Yeah.
Hi.
I didn't see me all this time.